hope you can hear me clearly. My name is Linda.
Morning. I hope you're well. Good morning. I hope you're well. My name is Lukundo Wamaningo from Tax Education, and I'm very excited this Thursday morning to be your moderator in regards to VAT auto population. And I'd really like for you to confirm if you can hear me clearly. Kindly type on the chat box in regards to hearing me clearly. Good morning. I hope you're well. My name is Lukundo Amaningo, and I'm very excited to join you during this session. I'll be your moderator for today's Tax Thursday. I can see Margaret, she's already joined. I can see Mr. David Busaule. Can you hear me clearly? Kindly type on the chat box. Thank you, Wilson and Alex. Alex, thank you. I'm glad that I'm audible. I'd like to give you around 5 minutes. So we are going to start this session at 11 a.m. Okay, I can still see people are joining. I am very excited, be it being a December. Uh, you guys, where you're trying to join from. Thank you. Sorry about that. We've had a bit of technical hitches in regards to that, but today's topic is VAT auto population, and we have our facilitator known as David Busaule. I am very, very excited because I do believe that each and every taxpayer will have a chance to ask questions or type out their questions, and we are here for you as tax education. Okay? I'd really like to know what are your expectations in regards to VAT auto population. I'd really want to know where you are, what you'd like to ask. Yes, Margaret, I can see you are trying to tell me that you can hear me clearly. Thank you so much. I can see Mohammed Abdirazak. Thank you so much, Mohammed, and each and every taxpayer for you to just take your time to join our session this morning. So you can actually type on the chat box in regards to your expectation for this session this morning before we get to now start officially. I can see Kiamba. How do you do VAT auto population? That is quite an interesting question that we have noted, and we are going to be able to get to answer you during the Q&A session. So have your question with you, and also I'd really suggest for you to have a pen and paper in regards to taking notes and in regards to having questions for us to be able to answer you during this session. Okay? And I'd like to introduce myself once again as the moderator. My name is Lukundo Wamaningo from Tax Education. Thank you so much, each and every taxpayer, where you are listening me from. I'd really want to know where you are, what county. It being the festive season, I do know that each and every individual has plans in regards to going to their different respective counties. Thank you. I can see Mpote from Kajiado County. I can also see Zainab from Mombasa County. Thank you so much, Zainab. I have seen your question, KM. I have noted it down. I can see Kathy from Nairobi County. This is amazing. So, as I said earlier, we need to give at least 5 minutes for the taxpayers to join. So exactly at 11:05, we'll get to commence this training session in regards to VAT auto population. Please have your questions with you. We are here for you as tax education. I hope Mr. Busaule, I hope you can hear me clearly from where you are.
Yes. I think I can hear you loud and clear. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much. I can also hear you loud and clear. We'll just give them 5 minutes for us to now start our training session immediately after 5 minutes.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, sir. Jedida, I can see your question right there. Please have it with you. And I'd still get to insist that during this session, we'll only take questions in regards to VAT auto population. So please, if you have any questions in regards to other tax heads, we will be able to answer them in other sessions. So today's session is about VAT auto population. Please have your auto population questions with you. Okay?
Amoni, could you make also Diana Ivusa the presenter? She's coming from E-Team's operation, so we'll be doing this session jointly at some point, or rather answering questions together. Okay. I can see she's among the participants who have joined.
Okay, Diana. She's already a panelist. I hope she can be able to confirm that she is a panelist on her side.
Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning.
Yes,
Good morning,
I can.
Diana.
Yes, I
You
can.
are
I've
a
seen.
panelist.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, now we get to start this training session in 1 minute with a word of prayer. Let us pray. Thank you, Father, for this wonderful Thursday morning. We humbly request you, Father, for you to be with us during this training session. may you be able to be with our panelist and our moderator today morning, Father. And may this session be a successful session. May each taxpayer leave this session informed. May they leave this session satisfied in regards to their questions that they bring forward during this session, Father. We thank you. We glorify your name, mighty Redeemer. And we are very grateful for this wonderful Thursday, sunny morning. In Jesus' name we pray and believe. Amen. So it's exactly at 11:05. As I said, my name is Lukundo Wamaningo. I'll be able to moderate you during this training session in regards to VAT auto population, and I'd like to welcome our two facilitators or our panelists by the name David Busaule and Diana Ivusa. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning. My name is David Busaule from the Business Transformation Office, and I'll be taking you through the step-by-step on how to do the pre-filled or the auto-populated VAT return, and of course, also guide you on some enhanced validations which the return will have going forward. And yes, Diana, I'm not sure if you have a presentation, you want to start with something, so Diana, you can guide, or maybe you'll just delve into directly on the e-teams issues and in the Q&A. Maybe Diana, you can guide so that we know how to proceed. Okay.
Good morning once again. I don't have a presentation. I think I'll just dive into the Q&A in regards to e-teams.
I think that's in order. So probably we can, we've already been committed to prayer, and I think we'll start the session. Okay, and yes, happy holidays. Less than a week to Christmas, and I think it's a good time for the ones who have managed to join. It means you are very hardworking Kenyans, and because wengine washaanza sherehe, and probably their phones even are off. They have not woken up. The Kenyan spirit of the holidays. Anyway, as I said, my name is David. I'll take you through the ITAX side of this presentation, and the assumption we are working on is you have already issued the electronic invoice. The assumption is you've already issued an electronic invoice. Actually, the assumption before you come to file the pre-filled or the auto-populated return, which will guide you what it entails, is you already registered on Teams or e-Teams. So you already registered on the tax invoice management system, the one which was device-based, or you are registered in e-Teams. So you can be registered in either. And of course, you have a VAT obligation, and now you are issuing electronic invoices through Teams or e-Teams to your customers. So at least before you come to filing, those conditions must, basically those issues, you should have met all those conditions that you have a VAT obligation, you are registered in with Teams or e-Teams, either. We are still running both of them. There are some already in Teams, there are others who are now in e-Teams. And of course, you have issued an invoice through either Teams or e-Teams. And of course, you have transmitted the invoices to KRA. So please note, the issue is not just issuing, but also we will be now more emphasizing on the aspect of transmitting the invoices to KRA. So it's a very critical component of this training, that transmission is a key issue relating to this pre-filled or the auto-populated VAT return. So of course, you've met those conditions, you've issued your invoices. Again, another thing we just need to mention is maybe let me share my screen so that I can just again guide before even we delve into the iTax bit. It's just good we put some things in perspective. Our office, the Business Transformation Office, together with the e-Teams Operations Office, where Diana, my co-facilitator presenter, comes from, we've come up with a very detailed step-by-step guide on filing of these returns. So just in addition to these trainings, please note there is a document out there which you can always refer to, and we've put as much information as possible to guide anyone who will be filing this return. And it's a public document. It is hosted on our KRA website, and you can we'll also be sharing it through emails. I believe even we've already shared it through emails. I think there's some trainings which have already been planned for January, and some of the attachments to the emails was this pre-populated VAT return, so you can also refer to it. I may also allow me to just make reference to some other, on the KRA website, we have a lot of information relating to the journey. It has been a journey, especially from the beginning, from late last year. I think from around this past December or November, December, thereabouts last year to now, there have been quite a number of milestones which KRA has managed to achieve, and also has been pushing our VAT registered taxpayers to be able to comply with. You can remember back then, was it from 1st December 2022, all VAT registered taxpayers were expected to have registered on the tax invoice management system, which was more of the device-based option before we onboarded the software bit, which is eTIMS. Then, of course, much later in the beginning of this year, KRA again communicated, and all those public notices are there on the KRA website. You can always come to the news center. Under news center, you can go to on the KRA website under news center, you can go to public notices, and you'll see all those relevant public notices relating to the commissioner guiding you on this journey of. So it's not just a journey which has started today. It has been a journey KRA has been running with for about 2 years, and we are glad that now we have been able to be able to do this. You can even see on 28th of November 2023, we issued a public notice again on simplification of the VAT return filing process, and this is what we are going to talk today about. There have been other public notices in the beginning of the year advising taxpayers that we've upgraded our tax invoice management system when you're onboarding the electronic, the eTIMS version to it. There's also this public notice again is very clear. Maybe this one, it's on enforcement of the electronic tax invoice, and here the public was being told that effective 1st June 2023, all VAT registered taxpayers should only accept electronic tax invoices, of course, issued either through TIMS or eTIMS. So again, you realize this has been, that's why I'm saying it has been a journey. Things have been building up. It's not just KRA has woken up today and said, now let's have the pre-filled return. I think KRA has engaged a lot of stakeholders in the course of the year in trying to get the right solutions for different taxpayers. And of course, now with this, we expect every VAT registered taxpayer either to be on the tax invoice management system, registered under the tax invoice management system, or under the electronic tax invoice management system, which is eTIMS. And of course, other things I think Diana will still come in and just guide on other things on that. Another thing I just want to let you know is we've also communicated to the non-resident digital service providers, the Netflix, the Amazons, the Microsoft, the Google, the Meta, the Facebooks, and the YouTube, and all these guys. They have also been notified because they are required to register for VAT and file the respective returns. You realize there is also a dependency on you claiming certain input taxes by the compliance of these non-resident digital service providers. So again, I think KRA has been able to communicate its intentions towards even these auto-populated VAT return for the better part of this year. And now we are glad that we've now come to that point where we are now ready to move to the next phase of the VAT pre-populated or pre-filled or auto-populated return. This return will be effective from January 2024. So we are doing this training today. So this return will not, what we are going to talk about will not apply to the December 2023 return, but it will apply from the January 2024 return, which of course can only be filed from 1st February 2024. So please note that. But of course, there are some things you as a business, you may need to implement and of course ensure they are working as they should from 1st January 2024, because the invoices you are going to claim in the January return are the invoices which are issued by the invoices you are going to declare or claim in the January 2024 return are the invoices either you'll issue or receive from 1st January 2024 going forward. And that's why we are really doing this change management and sensitizations to enhance your awareness on on these pre-filled these enhancements relating to the pre-filled VAT return. Now, so you just log in. How you log in? Of course, again, the another assumption is if you're joining this training, probably you already know how to file a VAT return. So this is not the bit where we say you already know to file a VAT return. You come to file return and you just go direct to VAT, because these are training which is mostly targeting persons who are already either registered for VAT and they're filing VAT returns, because we have other trainings for beginners, and you're being now taken through the profile, the VAT return in all its components before even now you become, let's say, a guru in filing the VAT return. So you'll come to file return. Under file return, you select VAT. So again, I said one of the conditions is for you to file a VAT return, you must have a VAT obligation, and it must be an active VAT obligation. Okay, then you'll come and we have two options. The two options will still be there, where you can download the blank return and start filling the PIN, the name, the PIN of the organization, the type of return, the return period, and capture all the other things relating to the return. But this is the option we are discouraging. Please avoid this option, because now going forward with some of the enhanced validations this return is going to have, this option might I don't know, lack of better word, cripple you. You might receive so many errors. So please avoid the first option going forward from January 2024. We encourage you to use this other second option. And under just below the return period from and the return period to, you'll see there is an option called download auto-populated VAT return. Yes. So there's an option for download auto-populated VAT return. That's the option. You can tell, please remember that is the, I don't know what's the word, we should say that is the only option. Mambo ni moja now hapa going forward, that this is the only option to use going forward, because if you attempt to use the other one, then you'll face quite a number of challenges. So basically what is KRA doing? We are trying to enhance the user experience. We are trying to enhance VAT compliance, and we're also trying to enhance transparency and fairness in the economy, that all VAT registered taxpayers, everyone should pay their fair share of the taxes. Everyone should only claim their fair share of input taxes, and that those are some of the tenets which are being encompassed, which are probably those are some of the tenets, right? Those are some of the tenets around this enhancement, that fairness, transparency, and of course enhancing VAT compliance. And on the other side, as we simplify it, also we are enhancing the customer journey and the user experience. So when you come to download auto-populated VAT return, you can just click on it. You'll get the I know please not I know some of the taxpayers tend to be very scared clicking on anything, but at least iTax always prompts you and tells you, are you sure? Do you want to submit? Do you want to download? Do you want to do this? So even here you are being prompted, do you want to download the pre-filled form? Of course, then you can say okay. Then once you say okay, the form will now be downloaded. The VAT return, which will come pre-filled with certain data sets, will be downloaded, and now you can start the filing process. Some of the data sets this return is using will be invoice data from teams and e-teams. We are also using data from the non-resident providers of digital services, and also we are also using information relating to imports from our customs business systems, whether it is ICMS or SIMBA, depending on what your entry, depending to which system you might have used to do your importation. So again, so those are the main data sets this return is using for now. Teams and e-teams data, which could be invoices being issued or invoices you are receiving through teams and e-teams. If you are dealing with the non-resident digital suppliers of non-resident suppliers of digital services, and also if you are dealing with imports, we are also validating that from the customs business system. So I believe my return, I think it's still downloading. I can just maybe let me just see if I can get a return which is already downloaded, so that we can just save time on that. So once you download the return, you'll get something like a folder like this one. Once you get that folder, when you go to that folder, I believe my screen is still visible because I think I'm sharing the screen. So I hope when I'm moving from the web to the zip folder, everything is still visible. Diana, is the screen still visible on the zip folder so that we don't just lose anyone? Okay.
Yes, it is.
So,
We are able to see you downloading the return.
okay. So, okay. Sawa. So you go to the zip file. Once you've downloaded the zip file, someone has something saying they are not able to see. Probably you can log out and log in. Dana, what are you able to see? Are you seeing the CSV zip and the VAT return in a folder?
No, we are seeing an iTax, someone's profile.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought I was sharing the screen. Okay, that's the thing actually I wanted. Let me just stop sharing. Let me, I thought I was sharing the screen. Okay. What about now?
You're not sharing anything right now.
You're sharing your screen. Okay. From my end, I'm being told I'm sharing. So you should be seeing maybe the folder. Oh, guys are confirming now it's the folder. Okay. Okay. Good. Sorry about that. I thought I was sharing the screen. That's why I needed to confirm that. Anyway, sorry about that. So you download the zip file on the iTax side, then you come back to the zip file. Once you open the folder or the zip file, whichever term you want to refer to it, whatever you downloaded from iTax, this is how it will look like. It will have the VAT return, the Excel one. So this simplified auto-populated VAT return is still riding on some basic components of the existing VAT return filing process. But again, KRA as an organization, we are looking forward towards possibility of having a completely web-based VAT return, probably by end of 2024, where you'll only have the totals and you'll not be required to import probably anything. And that will be the ultimate actually simplification. So these are transition return towards the ultimate simplification, but it will still help. It will still help you
Can
in
you
the
hear
simplification.
me,
Yes.
sir? My apologies. I'd like to inform you that the audio on your side is not really audible because I can see some of the taxpayers are trying to communicate in regards to your audio. Kindly check on your settings, please.
For me, David. Okay, I'm trying to shout.
Yes, yes, yes. Not even shouting. It might be the settings on your computer.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Because even
The audio is better now.
My speaker is at 95. Is it better now?
Oh yeah, it is better.
Okay. 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 Sorry about that again. So we proceed. So you've downloaded the zip file. It comes into the zip file will have the main VAT return, and also it will have the CSV file. So I'll just download the main VAT return, the same process you are going through. Okay, let me first close this one. So I'll download the VAT return. So you download the VAT return from the zip folder or the zip file which you downloaded. The same aspects. Nothing to worry. Just enable editing. Again, you might get this runtime error 1004. Again, nothing to worry. Just save the return. Those are just macro related issues. So you just come and save the return wherever you want to save it. You save the return. Good. Then you close the return. Then you can go to where you save the return. Can go to where you save the return and open it. And of course, the return will now open accordingly with some of the pre-filled information already. So this return will come with the date. Will already come pre-filled with the PIN number, the type of return, the entity type, and the return period from. So you may be required to enter the return period too for now, but going forward, you'll not be required. Maybe from around January, maybe from around February. Again, we'll deal with that. But for now, it triggers certain controls in the return as we go relating to that a certain sheet, which will no longer be applicable from around January or February 2024. So you just capture the period. So once you capture the period, then you can always, I'll take you through the rest of the return. Let me just close this. I may want to use a different one, but it's still the same. So you can now come and open the return which you've captured the period to. So the return already comes pre-filled. I'll show you some of the things which are already applicable to this return. I think I was trying to do, okay. Oh, okay. This one even already has the date. So let me just, I think there's another one. Just a minute. Let me close this one and open. So the return, I'm going to take you through what already comes pre-filled in this return. Just a minute. I don't know where it is. So you open the return. Okay, you capture the date. Then I'll take you through what probably is already pre-filled out. Okay, yes. So once you've opened, you've captured the date, the return period too. That's fine. Some of the information which will already come pre-filled with this return will be the total sales and VAT to customers not registered for VAT. That one will already come pre-filled in the return. So you are not entering this, but of course I'll be letting you know that you can edit this upwards where applicable once we come to this sheet. So all the sales values under sheet B, sheet D, and sheet E relating to final consumers or persons not registered for VAT, all those respective sheets will come pre-filled with the sales values. So under sheet B, we'll have total sales and VAT to customers not registered for VAT. Under sheet D, you'll have total sales to customers not registered for VAT for zero-rated supplies. Under sheet E, you'll have total sales to customers not registered for VAT under sheet E, but it's not applicable to everyone. This is where applicable. So if you don't deal with generated supplies at 16%, zero-rated supplies at 0, and exempt supplies, of course, then some of your respective sheets G and E may not probably be may not have any values. But this is just an example of probably any someone dealing with all the three types of zero-rated supplies, generated sales, generated zero-rated sales, and exempt sales. So those ones will already come pre-filled even before you start filing the return. There will be purchases. There will be no pre-filling of any purchases, but we are going to provide you the respective CSV sheets. And again, there will be no pre-filling of the VAT on imported services in case maybe you have an imported service and you paid some VAT on it, and it was used in generating taxable supplies. You can also come and claim it accordingly. If in case you had done some payments, if you had made some payments before filing the return, then also this one will be some of these payments will be pre-filled already in this return under section K2. And of course, now we go to the tax computation. The tax computation will also be pre-filled with certain information. This one is speaking from the sales under the section B, so that's just 16% of those sales to customers not registered for VAT. Also, your credit brought forward, where applicable, it will be pre-filled already. Your total withholding VAT credits will also be pre-filled. Your refund claim will also be pre-filled. Where applicable, if you've lodged a refund in the month, your credit adjustment vouchers or your inventory approval orders will also be pre-filled where applicable, and also your debit adjustment vouchers will be pre-filled. So again, that is the first level of pre-filling. Before you do anything, that return will already come pre-filled with all that information. Then now we come to the second bit. We go back to our CSV. I believe my screen is also probably not lagging. Am I back to the zip folder? I can just so that I don't proceed without. Okay, someone has already confirmed yes. So we go back to the CSV. So that is how the return, you download the return, you save it, it already comes pre-filled with certain information. Then now we go to the CSVs. You click on the CSV zip folder, and it will now open the respective CSVs relating to you as a taxpayer. Now, to how many CSVs will be pre-filled, will be available, to how many CSVs for the different sections, how many will be available to you. It all again depends on how many transactions you are dealing with, and also how many the different scope of vertible supplies you are dealing with, or whether it's sales or purchases. So again, it will be pre-filled purely based on your transactions, which KRA has received through Teams or e-Teams, or you've received through our customs business systems, which is ICMS mostly, and a few from Simba, and also either some transactions we've received from the non-resident digital suppliers. So under the sales sheets, whether it is for this person, you realize they may, for this example we're using, they may not have a section, probably they didn't have a section B, they didn't have a section D1, and they don't have a section E1 for the CSVs, but ideally, if they had, there's some CSVs will be here. So so these CSVs are only displayed depending on the nature of transactions you're dealing with. It's not that it's standard for everyone. So if you have some imports, you'll see a CSV for section F imports. If you have sales for section B, D, and E, you'll also see CSVs where applicable for section B, D, and E. And that's so, but I'll just explain using this as a simple example, but I'll still show you at the end another zip folder of someone else who has quite a number of very many transactions, and even what probably you might expect in case you are in the same spectrum like that, such a taxpayer. Maybe you're a big, you have a lot of transactions in the hundreds of thousands. We'll also show you how probably how your CSVs will look like. Not much different from this, but probably they'll just have multiple CSVs for each of the section where applicable. So we'll have the first CSV we have is section B. The first CSV we have is section B without PIN and non-VAT. So the whole idea about this return is we are pre-filling or auto-populating, or basically we are providing some of the information KRA already has in its reach or within its visibility to the taxpayer. So so we have section B without PIN and non-VAT. So that is this section without PIN and non-VAT is the CSV. This CSV, we don't require anyone to import it. This CSV is purely for you to validate. You realize when you're in the Excel, there is under section B, some cells already came pre-filled or auto-populated on the return. Like for this example, let's say we have cells of total sales and VAT to customers not registered for VAT of 145 million. This is just an example we're using. So for you to understand and ascertain and validate how did KRA arrive at the 145 million, when you go back to your CSV, this section B without PIN and non-VAT, this is the CSV which will help you validate that this amount of taxes KRA has arrived at, or rather this amount of sales to customers not registered for VAT. So basically how KRA arrived at this. So that one will be this CSV without PIN and non-VAT, the section B without PIN and non-VAT, or section D1 without PIN and non-VAT, or section E without PIN and non-VAT. Those CSVs are not supposed to be imported to the VAT return. They're only supposed to help you validate the lump sum cells already pre-filled in the return under section B, section D, or section E respectively. So again, when we are there, let me just go to, sorry. Okay, go. Sorry. I click on the wrong. So as we are there, let me open for you the section B without PIN and non-VAT for us just to appreciate how that CSV looks like. So this basically how the CSV will look like for section B without PIN and non-VAT. So that section B without PIN and non-VAT, it takes care of two different types of cells. The first component of the cell is the sale to a customer who came to your premises, to your shop, a customer basically who never provided a PIN to you. So you issued an invoice to them without capturing their PIN number. That is the first category of the customers whose transactions will be captured under any CSV with the narration without PIN and non-VAT. So that's the first category. A customer who never provided their PIN to the supplier. So again, the CSVs will come like this. The CSV will come with transactions like this. You realize the CU numbers, the transactions are there, but there is no PIN number. Now, the second category, which will still be contained in that same CSV, it's the second component of that narration, because we are saying section B without PIN and non-VAT PIN. So non-VAT PIN could be you provided a PIN to your supplier, but that PIN does not have a VAT obligation. So it is basically it's not the responsibility of your supplier to ascertain whether the PIN has a VAT obligation or not. Your supplier will just capture the PIN number of the customer, and of course it will be printed through the electronic invoice, whether through Teams or eTeams. But now in the backend, when iTax is consuming this transaction data from Teams and eTeams, we'll be able to do further analytics and confirm that does this PIN has a VAT obligation or not. So that is not, it's not the supplier who does the demarcation or the separation. It is KRA on the backend, which will now be separating sales to basically customers registered for VAT and sales to customers not registered for VAT. So for sales for customers not registered for VAT, there are two categories. One where the customer never provided a PIN completely, and the second category is the customer provided a PIN, but the PIN does not have a VAT obligation. So those are the two categories. And we are saying this CSV, you don't import it. It's just for you to confirm the pre-filled information. Something else you may need to note on this CSV, and it will be applying to all the CSVs going forward from January 2024, is on this CU number, you realize KRA had already guided that you can only declare sales and claim purchases using the CU invoice number issued from Teams or eTeams. So again, going forward, you'll be able to see this, that we've added a character. We've added a character to this invoice number. We call it a pipe. It's a pipe, but for you, maybe it appears like, is it a small L or a capital I? So we've added a character called a pipe in all the CU invoice numbers going forward to avoid the issue of truncation, because those are some of the challenges and the feedback we got from taxpayers, even when you're doing this pre-filling, that some of the invoices from, especially from Teams, some of them start with zeros, and of course, when they come to the CSV, the zeros become truncated. But now when you import it to the return, there will be no zeros. But when KRA is validating that invoice number, then it will realize your invoice number is different from the one which is in the system, which starts with zeros. So to avoid the issue of truncation, we've provided a pipe, an additional character to all the invoice numbers to avoid the truncation, so that in case you import these CSV to the return, you will not have the issues of truncation. So that is just the main issue on having this pipe, but it will disappear once you import this CSV, especially for the other section B. It will disappear, and I'll show you going forward. So for this section B without PIN and non-VAT, as I said, you're not supposed to import it. You're only supposed to validate the already pre-filled lump sum cells and confirm that all is actually working well. So I'll close that. Now we'll go back to our CSV folder. We also had section B with VAT. So section B with VAT basically means these are the sales you made to your customers. Those customers provided their PINs to you, and those PINs have a VAT obligation. So those type of sales will be batched in a separate CSV going forward. And of course, now these are the CSV you can import. So in case you want for the importing of CSVs, this is the CSV you'll import to section B where applicable for your sales. For the other one, it's already lumped up, and of course, we don't require you to import because even it's missing certain minimum information. For section B without VAT PIN, that's the one where you'll import. Again, let me open it for your. So let me open a section B without VAT PIN, and that is kind of how the CSV looks like. It will have the name of the taxpayer. It will have the PIN, the name of the taxpayer, almost similar to the other one without PIN and VAT. It's only that here, every invoice has a PIN number, and all these PINs have a valid VAT obligation. So all these PINs have a valid VAT obligation. That is just the difference between this one and the previous CSV, which you don't need to import. So this is the one, of course, we are in the era of self-assessment. Again, you can always come and confirm, but of course, will not allow you to edit the invoice number. neither will not allow you to edit the amount for now on this section B1 where you are importing. I'll show you how you can update. I'll show you how you can amend your cells upwards once you've already imported these cells to this CSV to the return. So these are basically to your customers who are registered for VAT, and you can now import this CSV accordingly. I think we'll go through. We can go through all of them. Then I'll show you the return where all of them have already been imported. So we can go for the cells. You can still have for other people. You can have section D1 and section E1 of CSVs without PIN and VAT, and also section D1 and section E of CSVs with VAT PIN. Something I may need to explain also, if your transactions are so many, whether under the category of final sales to final consumers or people not registered for VAT, or to persons who already registered for VAT, you might have more than one CSV for each of the section. So for some of you might have maybe even 5 or 6 or even 7 section B without PIN and VAT CSVs, because a CSV can handle up to 50,000 transactions. So if you realize someone is only having one CSV for each of the section, then it means all their transactions are less than 50,000. But in case some of their transactions exceed 50,000, then they might have more than one CSV for each of the section where applicable. So again, so for those controls for cells, that is what will apply. I think I can import. Let me come to the return. Okay, let me maybe explain the purchases. Then when you go to the return, it's okay. We'll just see how they've been imported. Now we can go to section F. Now going forward, we are going to have 3 types of purchases. Before I think it's better. Let me go to the sales side and explain. Let me close the CSV. Please note you cannot import a CSV which is open. So let me open a different return just to explain that issue now, which I've just taken you through, so that we don't lose thought. Let's finish with sales before we go to purchases. I think that's a better way to look at the issue, so that I can explain even other validations. So of course, you had some pre-populated values for the total sales and VAT to customers not registered for VAT. You can even come and import. Let me even import. Let me come and import one of this CSV section B with VAT PIN. So that you can import it to the return as you do the filing. So that's kind of how you do it. That's fine. Then once you import it, this is basically how the cells looks like. So you've imported, I think for this person, they only have probably about 100 taxpayers who provided the customers who provided a PIN to them, and that PIN had a VAT obligation. And that's kind of how it looks like. Now for the cells, we are saying, once you've already imported this CSV, you can only probably delete, but we don't allow you to edit these already pre-filled values. In case you have additional cells, we allow you to edit. We'll allow you to capture the cells. We advise you to use the total sales and VAT to customers not registered for VAT field. So what are we saying? We are saying because these cells, the conditions for KRA to have the visibility of these CSVs and the pre-filled sales to final consumers, the conditions are: you must have registered on Teams and eTeams, you must have issued an invoice through Teams or eTeams, and you must have transmitted those invoices to KRA. So you realize those 3 conditions may not be met by everyone. There could be scenarios where either you issued an invoice through Teams or eTeams, but you never transmitted to KRA. That could be the first scenario. Or the second scenario is due to one reason or another, whether genuine omission or commission, you may not have done some of your sales through Teams and eTeams. But because the VAT Act requires you to declare all your sales for the tax period, you will still be required now to come. And now if you have some sales which either you issued through Teams or eTeams, but you never transmitted the invoices, or some sales which were issued outside the Teams or eTeams, which we don't, as of now, we don't encourage that unless it's really a genuine reason to why you're doing that, and you've already communicated to the Teams operations on the challenges probably you're having on a device or something, then we'll allow you to come and increase the sales. So we'll allow you to come and increase the sales upwards. So you realize, so the rules for sales is you can always increase the sales upwards. That is a universal rule for sales. Again, KRA being very caring, and even we are in the holidays, we are in the holiday mood, we've allowed that you can always edit the sales upwards to whichever amount you deem was your sale for the month. So the sales you can edit upwards, but you cannot edit downwards. So please note the rule on sales is you can capture any sale which never went through teams or e-teams by increasing the sales value upwards, but you cannot edit the sales values downwards. Especially and of course the validation we are doing, but the validation we are doing is not as per the respective CSVs. The validation for sales are at the total level, meaning I can even decide, okay, I'm not saying you should do this, but I'm just giving an example. I can even decide to delete the last 5 categories, the last 5 invoices, but as long as I'll still move the sales which were here to this lump sum value, then that's still fine. So the validation is in the total sales value and not necessarily the breakdown of total sales and VAT to customers registered for VAT and total sales and VAT to customers not registered for VAT. We are not validating against section B without PIN and VAT and section B with VAT PIN. We are validating against their total value when added together. So as long as your return here has at least those the total value at least which KRA has, then of course that is the first validation we'll be doing when you're uploading the return on the sales side. And of course for credit notes, again, we will not allow anyone to claim a credit note which has not been issued through teams or e-teams. So again, validation on credit notes going forward will be all credit notes must be issued through teams and e-teams. That's the first condition. And the second condition is you must have declared the original invoice in the return on a line item. So please note the 2 conditions for claiming credit notes. All credit notes must have been issued through teams or e-teams, and of course transmitted to KRA. So anytime I say issued through teams and e-teams, please also just add the word transmission in case I forget. Issued through teams and e-teams and transmitted to KRA. And the second condition is if you're coming to claim, let's say, a credit note, I think did I have a credit note in this one? If you're coming, let's say, let me give an example. Let's assume this last one, it was a credit note. Okay, sorry. Let's assume, so if maybe this last one was a credit note and there is the relevant invoice number and the relevant invoice date, this relevant invoice number must have been declared on a line item within that allowable time, which is 6 months of the invoice date. So this relevant invoice number you're going to capture here must have been declared either in the same return or in an earlier return before you can come and claim the credit note. So those are the 2 conditions. 1, the credit note must have been issued through teams and e-teams and transmitted to KRA. Second, the original invoice must have been declared on a line item. So please note those conditions because we're already seeing so many people. I think that check even is already applying in the November return, going to the one I think which is being filed, and we've realized people are struggling on that bit. So those are the conditions on sales. You should be able to increase your sales because unless you are sure that you have issued all your invoices through teams and e-teams and you have transmitted all your invoices by the end of the month through teams and e-teams, then probably that is a category where we can say they can fully rely on the sales value for this return for now. But because we are still enhancing compliance on transmission and other things, we will still require taxpayers to increase the sales to match what they actually sold, whether they used e-teams or and teams, whether they issued invoices through teams or e-teams, or whether they transmitted the invoices to KRA by end of the month. You will still be required to increase your sales upwards to match your correct sales as per what really happened in the business. So again, please do not continue to file the return with the pre-filled values for sales as provided by KRA, because those could only be partial sales for you. And now you will still be required under the TPA that you come and declare the correct sales. And of course, those taxpayers will not do that, and KRA has visibility of that. Then KRA will take corrective action to to ensure that you are on a better compliance footing going forward. And of course, that will involve raising assessments, and other relevant collection procedures will be taken now from there. KRA will undertake those to ensure that you are compliant. So again, we're just encouraging you guys, please be compliant. Yeah, you're always compliant. Continue being compliant. Always declare your correct sales. What KRA is pre-filling for you now is what they have visibility of. That may not be the total sales for you. And every taxpayer will be required to increase their sales where applicable, to take care of all those scenarios which might have led to. And now someone will ask that I issued an invoice in January, and I was not able to transmit it, and it was transmitted in February. Please note, we don't use the tax point doesn't use the date of transmission of the invoice to KRA. The tax point will always be the invoice date in this scenario. So the January invoice must be declared in the return, either on a line item or as a lump sum, whether it was issued through Teams or e-Teams, or it was transmitted to KRA. So basically, that is just what we are encouraging you guys to pick from this validation. The same validations will apply to section D1 for local. For now, we're only pre-filling information relating to section D1, which are the zero-rated supplies done locally. For exports, you may still be required to get the information from the respective custom business systems, whether it is SIMBA, whether it is ICMS, whether it is to the single custom territory or to the rest of the world. You'll be required to come and capture those details by yourself. But in due course, we'll also be able to start pre-filling this. But for now, we are not pre-filling the section D2 due to some few issues we are still resolving internally. Then we'll be able to do that. But for section D1, for all those transactions which went through Teams and e-Teams, we'll be able to pre-fill for you for zero-rated supplies. And also the same thing for exempt supplies. Again, we'll pre-fill the total sales to customers not registered for VAT. We'll do it. And also, if you have those ones declared on a line item, you'll be able to import the CSVs. So of course, again, for the same rules will apply to section D and section E, that if KRA already has visibility of your sales for zero-rated supplies as 50 million, you cannot come and declare zero-rated supplies under D1 as less than 100 million. So if KRA already has visibility from the invoices issued through Teams and e-Teams and transmitted to KRA that your zero-rated supplies is 100 million, then you cannot declare less. But of course, you have the window to declare more, because you may not have transmitted some invoices, or some may not have been issued through Teams or e-Teams. We believe after certain approvals have been issued. Otherwise, it is an offense to continue issuing any invoices outside Teams and e-Teams. So those are the validations on sales. And I've also mentioned about the credit notes. So everything is basically being validated through Teams and e-Teams for both normal invoices and credit notes and debit notes. And of course, you can still increase the sales to match your actual sales for the month. Now let's come to purchases. For purchases, we have three types of purchases. Let me go back. Maybe let me explain using, there is a, down here on the last row, you can see now there, initially our return has been having two types of purchases, local and import. But now we have three types of purchases, local, import, and digital supply. And I'll be explaining all of them now separately. We can go back to a zip file, and I'll explain the local and the imports separately, because our CSV has that. So we have for this example, they have section F for imports, and also they have section F with VAT PIN. So local, when you realize section F with VAT PIN, these are the local purchases. So for local purchases, if you want to retrieve them, that is the CSV which has them, section F with VAT PIN. But this person also, in addition to section F local purchases, they have also done some imports at 16%, which they paid VAT at the rate of 16%. So they can also have section F with import. Other taxpayers will also have section F digital supply. So it is possible to have section F with VAT PIN, which are the local purchases. It is possible to have section F with imports, which are the imports. And also it is possible to have section F with digital supplies, which are the purchases you've purchased from the non-resident suppliers and providers of digital services. I'll explain how the three the controls around the three of them. So let me go and open for you section F, a sample section F, even before we come to the return. So section F, so you realize KRA is now providing you with the list of purchases we deem we deem that they should be you've actually qualified to claim in that month. So these purchases we are providing for you are only purchases for the current month you're filing. But again, when you go to the return, I'll explain how you can do the one where you can claim a purchase within 6 months. That is still possible. But the CSV currently only has the purchases for the current month. And how do these purchases now, how do they get availed to you in this pre-filled return going forward? The conditions will be, you must have provided your PIN to the supplier. No, the condition must be, you bought something from a supplier who's registered in Teams or eTeams. Those are now the conditions for local purchases going forward. You must have bought something from a supplier who has registered in Teams or eTeams. You must have provided your PIN to them. Whether it's a petrol station, whether it's a supermarket, you must have provided your PIN to them. The supplier must have captured your PIN in the invoice. That's the third condition. And the fourth condition is the supplier must have transmitted those invoice details to KRA. So please note those are the 4 conditions for claiming of local purchases, VAT, input VAT, whether it is at 16%, at 8%, at 0, or exempt. Those are the conditions. You must have been issued with an invoice through Teams or eTeams. You must have provided your PIN to the supplier. The supplier must have captured the PIN. The supplier must have captured the PIN in their invoice, and the supplier must have transmitted the invoice to KRA. Now, what KRA does in the back end is we look at all the global Teams and eTeams invoices which were issued through Teams and eTeams, validated by those respective devices, and transmitted to KRA by the respective suppliers. Then now, we're using your PIN, we'll now batch all your purchases from all the suppliers in the economy, and that's how we arrive at this CSV for section F with VAT, which is basically the local purchases. So going forward, what could be important now going forward, you as a VAT registered taxpayer, we cannot overemphasize the aspect that it is your responsibility as the buyer to provide your PIN to the supplier if you intend to claim input tax. That is, we cannot overemphasize that provision, which has always been there, by the way. All along, whether in the last 10 years, that provision KRA has always been bringing it out, that it's not the responsibility of the supplier to keep asking PINs from the buyers. Like maybe you go to Chandarana and there is someone at the till and there's always asking, hey, give me your PIN, give me your PIN, give me your PIN. No. Sales to final consumers, they still remain the same way. You don't need to provide your PIN to the supplier. But if you are registered, if you are a person in a business, and I think, let me even not say you are registered for VAT. If you are a person who is in business, whether you are VAT registered or not, please note it will now be your responsibility to provide your PIN to the supplier so that they can capture your PIN in the electronic invoice. And also, it may be prudent for you to follow up with them and ensure they transmit the invoices to KRA, because that will be the condition which will avail the input tax for you to claim. And why am I saying whether you are VAT registered or not? Because again, effective 1st January 2024, I think let's say from 1st September 2023, the scope of Teams and the scope of eTeams was expanded to all other obligations. So meaning whether you are registered with VAT or not, you are actually supposed to register on eTeams and start issuing electronic invoices through Teams or eTeams. If you're registered for VAT, you'll issue the invoices with VAT. If you're not registered for VAT, you'll issue the invoices under the non-VAT category. So again, we can't overemphasize that bit, that it is important that we all register on eTeams and Teams under the different categories, either VAT or non-VAT. And also when you're buying something from someone, it is important that you provide your PIN to that person, whether you are registered for VAT or not, because now there is also a condition that when you'll be filing your income tax return for 2024, KRA will be validating if your expenses are being supported by an electronic invoice issued through Teams and eTeams. And this will be applicable to both VAT registered and non-VAT registered taxpayers who are claiming expenses either in the income tax return for individuals or the income tax company return or the income tax partnership return. So again, please note that. Now back to our purchases. So those are the conditions for the local purchases to be availed to you. Now, again, as guided by Section 17 of the VAT Act, we are not saying you must claim all these purchases the way they are. KRA is only providing visibility to help in filing so that you don't have to start, you don't need to have probably an accounting system for you to even to be able to know what your purchases are. Probably you may not even need to do a lot of sophisticated Excel maneuvers on your end to ensure that you're able to harvest the CU numbers, the ones which are truncated, you're able to do what needs to be done to ensure the truncation is not done. So we are providing you the CSV, which we believe it is relating to your purchases for the month. But as guided by Section 17 of the VAT Act, it is still the responsibility of the person filing this return to ascertain that these purchases which have been availed to them, they are only valid purchases, because we also have the aspect of prohibited input tax, where yes, when David, let's say David is like Toyota, David is like, let's say, CMC Holdings or Sifao Motors. So David is selling certain vehicles to different businesses in the economy. But you realize there's some prohibition relating to purchase of certain vehicles, unless maybe you're in that business of buying and selling or repairing such vehicles. So you realize certain expenses might be prohibited under Section 17 of the VAT Act relating to passenger cars and repairs thereof, or also relating to entertainment, or it may be just any other purchase you've incurred which was not used in generating taxable supplies. So that is that is now what you may have to still refer to. So again, you don't need to claim all the purchases carriers pre-filled to you. You all need to be guided again by Section 17 and ascertain does this purchase meet the conditions for claiming of input tax. And of course, now it will be up to you now you can either come and delete. Maybe you can say this third purchase of 98,000 is not it is not applicable, it's not liable for claiming, maybe it's prohibited. You can always come and delete it from the CSV, and you do away with it. Or if maybe there is a purchase where to some certain extent you are not supposed to claim the full amount, but you're only supposed to claim a less amount, you can always come and capture there. You can move the amount, let's say, from 92,000 to 40,000. So again, it's allowed to reduce the purchases, either do away with the purchase invoice completely if it is prohibited, or reduce the amount accordingly, depending on to the extent to which that invoice is liable for claiming of input tax. So yes, we provided you with the purchases, but KRA will not force you to import these purchases. But in case you choose to import these purchases, then we'll now validate the purchases again and confirm that if it's local, those are the purchases which went through teams and e-teams accordingly. Now, this person also has another CSV. This person also has imports. So let me go to imports, then we'll go back to the return and I'll explain other further validations. Again, for imports, the imports will come with the, I think will come with the name of the supplier will be foreign supplier, so it is generic. And of course, you've realized for all our sales and purchases, for purchases, we are having a generic description of e-teams, stroke teams purchases, or import purchases, or digital supply purchases. Those are the different types of purchases. They are generic, but you can amend this description where you deem fit, or if you wish to, you can still amend the description, that's fine. And also for sales, we're either having teams or e-teams sales, either Section B, Section D1, and Section E. So again, this is the CSV for imports. These are the imports which you've already validated from the customs business systems. We've confirmed that these imports are available for claiming in the month. And of course now, because we only have Section F, we only have one Section F for purchases, you'll be required to combine the two purchases, local and, so I'll copy my imports and I'll bring them maybe to my local purchases sheet. Then, of course, now I'll save it. Maybe I'll give it a name, total purchases for local and imports. Then once I've saved this CSV, this will now be my total section F purchases. So please note, you don't import local purchases, then you come and import the imports, because one of them will override certain transactions of the other. So you combine all the section F. This rule basically applies to all the sections. If you're having more than one CSV for that section, and that CSV it is available for being imported to the VAT return, you may need to combine the CSVs accordingly. Then you import only one CSV. So of course, once you've saved this, we can now come to maybe the total. Let me come and show you now my combined section F CSV. So my combined section F CSV is here. It has both local purchases and also it has imports. So this is the combined section. This is the combined section B, section F VAT, which is now available for claiming. So let's go back to the return. So this is how you import it, and basically that's what the return will look like. So please note, for purchases, KRA will not force you to claim any purchase. We only provide visibility of the transactions where you appeared as a purchaser and VAT was involved. We'll now put that under section F for local purchases. In case you have some imports, we'll put it under section F for imports. If you have digital supplies, we'll put it under section F for digital supplies. And now you can combine all the three where applicable, and you claim and you import the CSV together. In case you've already imported the CSV, it is still okay to come to the return. You can still make adjustments in the return by just deleting a specific line. So the return will still allow you to upload the return by just deleting transactions of a specific line. It's still okay. So you can either disallow input tax in the CSV before importing, or even if after you've imported and you've realized you still have certain transactions you need to disallow, you can just go to the specific transactions in the return and you disallow them accordingly. Also in the return, you can reduce an amount. Like for this one is 26,000, you can reduce it to 10,000. Again, in line with section 17, that not all input tax you've paid might have been used in generating taxable supplies. So again, for purchases, we allow you to disallow in totality, or we allow you to reduce. But for purchases, we don't allow you to add. So the rule for purchases are the taxable value cannot be added more than what the supplier already transmitted as the sale, because you realize one person's purchase is another person's sell, especially for local purchases. For imports, we'll also not allow you to claim more imports, taxable value of an import more than what was declared to the Commission of Customs and where VAT was paid against. So again, those are just some conditions on purchases. Relating to credit notes and debit notes, again, we'll also be able to validate the same. Now, the aspect of 6 months, you can still come and claim a new purchase. So it is okay not to claim purchases in a given month, and you can claim them in the 2nd month, the 3rd month, the 4th month, the 5th month, or the 6th month. So the 6-month rule is still well enabled in this return. You can choose not to claim half of these purchases in this month, and you can choose to claim them in the subsequent month. But of course, the 6-month rule will still bound you that you need to claim these purchases within 6 months of the invoice date which they were issued. So again, so that rule is there. We are not forcing you to claim your purchases for the month. You can choose to claim some. You can choose to claim all if all of them are liable for claiming. You can choose to defer the claiming of some of them, whether it is local, whether it is imports, whether it is digital supply. You can choose to claim them in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th month. And also you can even choose to claim, even now that the return is starting in January, you can still claim a purchase, let's say probably relating to July or the August 2023. So of course, we'll allow you to do that. But what we'll be checking is, we will still validate that that purchase actually went through teams and e-teams. So the validation that a purchase, if it's local, must have gone through teams and e-teams. It must be relating to a vatable transaction where VAT was charged, and also it must have been transmitted by the supplier. Those conditions will apply to both the current month's invoices, input tax, or the input tax being claimed within 6 months of the invoice. So again, the conditions for purchases are that, and again, very much in line with section 17 of the Income Tax Act. Rather, not Income Tax, sorry, VAT Act, section 17 of the VAT Act. Sorry about that. Then we still have section G. these are some of the purchases that are at 8%, though this was repealed by the Finance Act 2023, but it will still be applicable for about 6 months from July 2023. So again, you will still be able to claim it within certain limitations. Again, for zero-rated purchases, the same conditions will apply. So the only purchases you'll be able to see, basically you'll be able to see are those purchases where you provided a PIN to the supplier, and the supplier you provided the PIN to the supplier, and the supplier you provided the PIN to the supplier, and the supplier captured your PIN in the invoice, and the supplier issued the invoice through Teams or eTeams, and the supplier transmitted the invoice details to KRA. Those are the conditions for you to be able to have visibility of purchases, whether it's under Section F, Section G, Section H, or Section I where applicable. Now, but for Section I is unique for exempt purchases because it allows you to capture other purchases on a lump sum level where you bought them from people who are not, where VAT was not charged. So again, if you have other purchases, you bought newspapers, airtime, other things you bought, it will not reduce the VAT you pay, but it will help in, of course, ensuring that your purchases under VAT can easily support the purchases under the income tax. So here you can capture purchases you've incurred from suppliers on which VAT has not been incurred. That is the only section in the purchases under sheet I which allows you to capture lump sum purchases from people where VAT was, from purchases from suppliers who did not charge VAT. It could even probably be residential rent, maybe some rent you paid and VAT was not charged, all that. Then we come, of course, to the VAT on imported services. Again, if you capture it accordingly. So that's basically how the return now will come out, and you realize now this is how the return becomes pre-filled, because we pre-fill certain information which carries visibility of, but also the pre-filled return is coming with some enhanced validations and some enhanced checks to enhance to ensure there is fairness, there is transparency, and also there is equity in the economy, where no one is now claiming input tax which has not qualified, especially it has not gone through Teams and eTeams. So I think with that, okay. Hey, who is that speaking? Okay. Okay. So those are the, so in summary, basically this is the pre-filled VAT return. We are saying this pre-filled VAT return, if you've ensured that all your transactions went through Teams and eTeams, and you transmitted all the invoices to KRA, you can comfortably rely on these values. But again, that is a very small percentage of taxpayers for now. So for the other taxpayers, especially for sales, we can't overemphasize the need for you to capture the correct sales, whether they went through Teams or eTeams, or whether they were transmitted to Teams or eTeams. And again, on the generated purchases, for purchases we are now coming up with, we are providing you with the purchases we believe you qualify to claim for. You will go through them and confirm that those purchases, all of them, you qualify to claim for. For the ones which you don't qualify, you disallow them either in totality or partially where applicable. And again, and then, of course, you import the CSVs accordingly. Now, on the tax computation sheet, let me explain something on the input VAT attributable to only exempt supplies. Now, you will still be required to apportion your input tax accordingly in case you claim them in Section F, yet those input VAT is not allowable for claiming. So in case you claim some input tax in Section F and probably it's not allowable for claiming in full, if that input tax was attributable to only exempt supplies, you'll be required to come in, you'll be required to capture that, and you realize it will, the input, and here you are capturing the input VAT, not the taxable value. So you'll be required to capture the input VAT, which has already been claimed in Section F, but that input VAT is attributable to only exempt supplies. So in case you never disallowed it the way I had already explained before, this is still another option and another way of disallowing it. You come and disallow the input VAT attributable to only exempt supplies, then input VAT attributable to both taxable and exempt supplies. This is the common input or the shared input tax, maybe rent, stationery, repairs and utilities, things like that. You'll still come and maybe capture that, and of course the return will calculate using the threshold provided by Section 17 of the VAT Act. It will disallow some portion of the common input, which will be deemed to have been used to generate exempt supplies. And that is like, we realize there is a non-deductible input VAT of 75,000. So out of the 500,000, we are disallowing the 75,000 on that. And then you'll go and upload the return. Once you upload the return, let me show you some. Let me show you something on. There's some sample CSVs. Let me show you something before as we come to an end, and maybe I give a chance to Diana, maybe just to mention some things, maybe also what they're doing from the e-team side relating to this. So once you upload the return, all these validations I've spoken about, they will be done once you upload the return. They will not be done on the Excel. It will be done on iTax. And let me just show you some of the sample CSVs. I was saying not everyone will have all the CSVs. You can only have section F. Maybe you never had any cells. You can also have these, I think, what similar we've used. And also, this is another CSV I told you guys, I'll show you. These are CSV of a very big person with so many transactions. You realize they have, like for section B without PIN and VAT, they have about 7 CSVs, meaning this person has in excess of 300,000 unique invoices issued to persons, to final consumers. And also under section D1, they will have about 5 CSVs. So they have in excess of probably 200,000 transactions. So again, depending on the complexity of your transactions, you might have more than 1 CSV for each section of the return. But where you need to import the CSV, you may need to combine the CSVs to one, then you import it. Something else I never mentioned is, sorry about that, is this return only takes care of section F can only accommodate 75,000 entries. So the only line items you can declare under section F is 75,000 entries. So in case you've done more than 75,000 unique invoices to VAT registered taxpayers, then the excess invoices above 75,000, you can pick that taxable value and you can come and add it to the total lump sum value. So please note that the return under section B and section F can only accommodate a maximum of 75,000 line items or unique invoices on a line item for sales to VAT registered taxpayers. Something else we've also seen from some of the issues being raised, even in this filing of the November return, which was being done yesterday, the due date. Please note, going forward, you'll not be required to declare a customer whose PIN does not have a VAT obligation on a line item. And again, that's why we are batching the invoices to 2. One without PIN and VAT PIN, the other one with VAT PIN. So going forward, you'll not be required to declare any customer you sold something to, yet their PIN does not have a VAT obligation. For all those customers, before that, the system was allowing that. Now that control is back. All those customers, you come and lump them up. And also, in case you're having more than 75,000 entries, you'll also be able to capture the total taxable value under the lump sum value, the lump sum sales sheet. I think other things we've captured them. Please, also the step-by-step guide is very clear, but I'll be glad to still clarify other things through the chat where applicable, so that we just see how to, so that we ensure you are comfortable and you have all the knowledge to make you be able to be more compliant from 1st January 2023. So once, let me now explain the issue of the digital supplies. For you to claim, it's only the purchase. As I said, we have 3 types of purchases. We have local, we have imports, and we have digital supply. It's only the digital supply purchase which there is a condition that your supplier must declare you on a line item. Please note, for local purchases, there is no condition whatsoever that your supplier must declare you on a line item. Whether your supplier lumps up the sale or declares you on a line item, that is not the condition. For local purchases, the condition is you must have issued your PIN to your supplier. He must have captured it in the invoice issued through Teams or e-Teams. They must have transmitted that invoice to KRA. Those are the conditions for claiming input tax for local purchases going forward. Now, for digital supply, the category of input tax for digital supply, now that is the only type of input tax which has a condition that your supplier must declare you on a line item. And again, our Digital Economy Tax Office has been reaching out to these non-resident digital suppliers, and we are happy to see that most of them, they are now declaring their B2B transactions in Kenya on a line item, because that's the only way you'll now be able to claim any input tax from an unresident digital supplier like Facebook. Maybe you incurred some advertising expenses where they charge VAT, and now you need to claim VAT on that advertising expense on Facebook. They'll have to declare you on a line item so that now you can come and appear like this on their VAT return, and you'll now use the invoice number and the amount, taxable value, and of course the PIN of Facebook to claim the input tax. And now when you upload the return, as I come to an end and I give some time to Diana, maybe just to do some highlights on eTeams and maybe what she has seen in the chat. These are some of the error messages you're going to get going forward. These are some of the error messages you're going to get going forward. In case you declare less sales than what, that's why I told you all those validations I've explained to you, they are all going to be done at upload. So all the validations, whether confirming whether you are declaring at least the sales KRA already has, or you are claiming the correct purchases, or even you are claiming duplicate purchases, or you are claiming purchases which have not gone through Teams or our customs business system. All these validations will be done at upload, and you'll now be getting similar error messages like this, either on sales, on purchases, accordingly. And I think now with that, allow me to maybe come to the end of my training. Sorry, I needed to be very detailed on each of the very sections so that probably we even preempt so many of the charts, maybe, or clarification. I've not seen the charts, so but I believe maybe with being much more detailed on each of the sections, we've addressed most of your concerns going forward. And now I'll stop sharing and probably take my invite Diana maybe for a few highlights on Teams or eTeams and maybe some issues you might have seen. Then I'll pick up the other clarifications relating to the VAT return. Thank you very much. I'll come back after Diana.
Thank you so much, Mr. Busaule. That was so informative. I think there's nothing much I can add to whatever you have said. But one thing that I've seen constant on the chat box is people are asking about transmission and how is transmission done. If you realize, most of us with the Teams devices or even the eTeams, the devices are able to transmit data to KRA. Transmission is done once the device is connected to internet. So as long as your device is connected to internet, transmission is done automatically. So there's no human interference that is needed, because I've seen someone ask. The only point, as long as your device is connected to internet. So we're encouraging people, when you're raising your invoices, kindly ensure that your devices are connected to internet for transmission of the data. I've seen someone ask, how are you going to verify that the invoices have been transmitted to KRA? You can scan the QR code. It should be able to tell you. When you scan the QR code, it will tell you it has been transmitted and what has been transmitted. They have the KRA CU invoice numbers. When you go to itax.kra.go.ke, there's a place called an invoice checker. When you put the invoice number, you should be able to check. You should be able to also see what has been transmitted to KRA. So I think that is what I've seen stand out on the chat box. And in case there are any other questions, maybe then I can be able to answer. But that is what I've seen people more concerned about transmission and confirming on invoice. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. I think we can now go to the rest of the issues. We'll be glad to cover all of them so that everyone is comfortable. So we'll just go to the chat. I believe chat is the one which has most of the issues. Someone is asking, can they be allowed to ask the question verbally? Okay, maybe we'll come back to that. Our host can let's answer the ones in the chat first. I think that was so that in case there is time now we can pick some from the floor. Someone is asking, kindly speak about the length of the CU number. It's really hard to key in all those numbers and it is prone to errors. And at least that's why we are having the pre-filled VAT return. You don't need to key in anything. We are providing you with the
CSVs which already have the CU numbers. So I think going forward, that is part of the simplification, which I think is weighing in very clearly with your concern that you will no longer be required to key in any CU number. You pick the CSVs from the KRA side and you work on them. For the sell side, if some of them doesn't have the CSV, you capture them as lump sum values. For the purchases, we are providing you with everything. So you realize there'll be no more manually keying in and coming up with a CSV of your own. I believe for Liz, that's because that is the whole idea about pre-filling. You are no longer keying in anything. You're only importing. Who is that? Okay. Okay. Tax education. Someone is unmuting and talking. Okay. Okay. Leave this recording on YouTube. I think our team from marketing will deal with that. The law exempts some local purchasers from issuing invoices or tickets via Teams or e-Teams. How will their sales be declared? Edward, there is really no law which exempts certain local taxpayers from issuing invoices or tickets. I think what you are referring to is when it comes to claiming of expenses in the income tax return, there are some certain transactions which you'll be required to claim without necessarily having an electronic invoice. So I think that is how we need to look at it, because it's only the non-resident digital suppliers, especially for VAT, who have been exempted from not issuing invoices through Teams and e-Teams. But I think the main issue of the exemption, and you can refer, is it section 20, is it 23 of the TPA? I think you can go and see the exemption. The exemptions are there relating to emoluments, relating to investment allowance, relating to airline ticketing, relating to interest and other things. Those exemptions are, we are exempting certain transactions for you to claim them in the income tax returns, whether you have an electronic invoice or not. So I hope that is the exemption you are referring to, just for clarity purposes. Will you upload the video on YouTube? I think our host will comment on that as we come to later. How can one raise a credit note if I happen to raise an e-Teams receipt twice? Maybe Diana, you can come in on that. I know those functionalities are there, and maybe you can explain the two different ways which Teams and e-Teams. I think one allows multiple credit notes to an invoice, another one is a one-to-one. Maybe it can be good to just bring that out on the aspect of a credit note.
Okay. In regards to credit notes, e-Teams and e-Teams allows you to raise a credit note, but you make reference to the original invoice number. So you can raise a credit note up to the amount that the invoice had. You can't raise a credit note above the amount, more than what you have raised. You're able to raise a credit note in terms of quantity of goods and also in terms of the amount. You can raise a full credit note and you can also raise a partial credit note. So it depends with what you're raising, but it allows to raise a credit note as long as you make reference to the original invoice number. Thank you.
Thank you. Someone is asking, do you have a sample of the already transmitted invoice? Okay. I think Jedida, what you need to understand is when you issue an invoice to a customer, you can print it on your end if you are the seller. What we are picking is not the PDF invoice. We're only picking certain data sets of the invoice, and that's why you can see it in the you can see it in the CSVs. So for us, we are not consuming your PDF or an invoice how it looks like. As long as it has met the conditions, it has a QR code, it has the PIN of the supplier, it has the VAT component and all that, that is good. We only consume certain data sets of the invoice. So we pick details in the invoice. We don't consume the physical invoices when you are pre-filling. We only pick certain data sets. And those data sets which we've shown you in the CSVs are some of the data sets which some of your invoice will have. Please work on making the CU invoice shorter. This is of great concern to all big companies having a lot of data. I think, Alan, this should never be a concern going forward because we are pre-filling for you. So whether I think the CU number is 100 characters, KRA is now availing to you that information in a CSV. I think that is me how I'm looking at it. But again, it is feedback. We can look into it. But I think those are some of the reasons why we are moving towards simplification and pre-filling, so that you don't need to do any analytics and do magic on your system, do truncation, add zeros, do use Notepad++ or any other software to ensure that there is no truncation, because we are availing to you the invoice data in a format which is ready for uploading directly to iTax without you making any changes, especially on the ones which have line items. The only changes we'll require you to do is capture the lump sum values of all those other sales you might have done, and maybe they are not part of the CSVs KRA has provided. Is Teams being done away with from January, or we can use either Teams or eTeams? The answer is yes, but Diana, please, I don't know if it's much of the advertising by KRA is mentioning eTeams more than Teams. I think I see it as a concern, but Diana, please just make our taxpayers comfortable that both of them are all our invoicing systems. Okay.
Currently, we are both using Teams and eTeams as the invoicing system. So those who are on Teams can continue using their Teams devices, and those who are on eTeams will continue using eTeams. So both systems are allowed.
Good. Thanks, Diana. Philip is asking, can you still be allowed to upload your own CSV file as long as the sales figure is the same or more than pre-filled? Hey, okay, Philip, I think now, hata sasa sisi tunashangaa sana, because as in KRA has given you what the CSV and the CU numbers, and even people are saying the CU number is too long, but you still want to go an extra mile, come up with your own CSV and then upload it. Anyway, the answer is yes. You can still come up with your own CSV if you wish, but we are asking ourselves, why should you do that? We've already given you a CSV of the pre-filled, some of the information we have, and especially for sales, if the transaction is not under Section B with VAT PIN, then you just need to capture that sale as a lump sum value. Introducing it through a CSV may just expose you to numerous errors, which this simplified auto-populated return is also trying to address. But in case anyway, if you want to come up with your own CSV, whether it's sales or purchases, please go ahead, but the validations might actually cripple you, because you might get the wrong CU number, you might get the wrong amount, you might be claiming from someone who has not transmitted the invoice, you may be using a different, different invoice date, wrong PIN of the supplier. But in case you really have to go do that, you're still allowed to do that. But we're encouraging you, the spirit of the pre-filled return is you working with what KRA has already provided you, and especially for sales, you just add the sales under the lump sum value. It is not you again coming up with your own. It will defeat the spirit of making it pre-filled and simplified if we'll still advise you to come up with your own CSV. We like to have a copy of the presentation so that we can digest the information later. Again, our host will comment on the aspect of availing this presentation to, if in case it is being recorded. If not, I think we'll just probably, I believe there's one more, there is another presentation probably which has already been recorded, and it must be available on the some of our social media. But I think our team from marketing, taxpayer education, will comment on that later. How do we tackle VAT exemption credit notes, whereby the customer has given us an exemption letter? I think, Krupa, there is no difference on how a credit note is a credit note, whether it is relating to and I know where you are coming from. Let's say you make a sale to the US Embassy. By the time you're making the sale to the US Embassy, it is a vatable sale. You're selling to them computers. They are charged at 16%. The US Embassy did not have an exemption letter from KRA guiding you, the supplier, not to charge VAT. So, of course, you'll issue an invoice the normal way through Teams. Come later, when they gave you an exemption letter, you'll have to pass a credit note again through Teams and eTeams, and all the other conditions relating to the validations around the credit note will still apply. So there is no unique credit note for VAT exemption and a credit note for, it's basically a credit note is supposed to correct an overcharge or an overpayment. And how will you know they declared you on a line item? Jedida, that's no longer a condition for claiming of input tax. So you don't really need to know if a supplier declared you on a line item or not, unless it is the non-resident digital suppliers. Those are the only ones where, for you to claim input tax from Netflix, from Amazon, from Facebook, from Google, they must have declared you on a line item. So that is the only condition when claiming input tax relating to digital supplies, that the supplier must have declared you on a line item. For all local purchases, recall my conversation and presentation. it is you must have issued your PIN to your supplier, he must have issued an invoice through Teams and e-Teams, he or she must have transmitted the invoice to KRA. Those are the conditions for claiming going forward, not being declared on a line item. I hope that's clear. Please repeat the input VAT attributable to only exempt supplies. Okay, Mwaka, you realize you might be dealing with both exempt. Let me give an example. Let's say an example of, let me give an example of, let's say, let's say back then when bread was exempt. So let's say a bakery was dealing with bread, it was dealing with cakes, and it was dealing with, let me even give an example of a milk processor like Brookside. Brookside is dealing with yogurt, it's dealing with mala, and also it is dealing with, let's say, the normal milk. And at some point, that milk used to be exempt. So you realize Brookside will incur a certain cost relating to packaging of these normal milk, which back then was exempt. So that input tax it's directly attributable to an exempt supply, because that milk, when sold to the final consumer, it is still exempt. So Brookside, in case it had claimed that input tax under Section F, they will now come to the tax computation sheet and they knock off the full input VAT relating to that packaging material relating to the exempt supply. It is directly attributable to exempt supply. So basically that's more of an example I can use for the past, and I hope maybe it's clear. I buy maize from local farmers, that is Farida, and supply the same to the government. As the government pays me, what tax am I entitled to at the end of the day? Anyway, agricultural products and processed raw and processed agricultural products are exempt. So of course, what we require you, and I think, Diana, do you want to weigh in on the aspect of registration as a non-VAT, just for the sake of Farida, because I think she needs to start from there. Register as non-VAT, then when she issue invoices, I believe now some of the taxes she will pay will be the income tax side, whether she's operating as an individual or a company. If she has employees, you might have payee. I think there are many other taxes which will come from the other end, but for you, for sure, VAT will not be applicable. Diana, maybe just 30-second, 1 minute weighing on just the non-VAT bit, registration on e-Teams. Okay.
Okay. As we are all aware, come January 2023, all of us need to be issuing invoices, whether VAT or non-VAT, through e-Teams. So for non-VAT taxpayers, we are all required to onboard on e-Teams now. The registration is, when you go to eteams.kra.go.ke, there's a sign-up form there that you need to fill. After you've done the sign-up form, you log in and you do a service request for VAT, for the system you want to use. So we have different types of softwares. We have those people who do goods and services. We have different software solutions where they can be placed on your laptop, your phone, your tablet, a PDA, your tablet. So you request for, you do a service request on which solution, which platform you'd want the software to be placed for people who are doing goods and services. And for people who are doing services only, they have the online solution where they will register and they will be issuing their invoices. So now invoices have to be electronically transmitted, whether you are registered for VAT or not. So for you to be able to claim on income tax.
Okay.
I think I have
I
tried to simplify it.
Yes. I know that's a whole presentation for a whole session, just to.
Yeah.
But I think that's well enough. Thank you, Diana. What will happen if the purchases are transmitted without including your PIN? How do I claim the purchase? Pascal, the answer is you cannot claim that purchase, and that's why we are. Our advice and we've been emphasizing the aspect that if you are in business, whether registered with VAT or not, it's your responsibility to issue your PIN to the supplier, and they should capture it in your They should capture it in the invoice issued, whether through Teams or e-Teams, where applicable, and also they should transmit it to KRA, so that you will now see those details under Section F, the CSV provided under Section F. Otherwise, if someone does not capture your PIN, you will not be able to claim that purchase. You'll need to go back to them. They'll need to reverse the sale, pass a credit note, and reissue an invoice with your PIN. So Pascal, and that's why we cannot overemphasize the aspect that going forward, if you intend to claim anything, whether under the VAT return or the income tax return going forward, it may be imperative that you provide your PIN to the supplier and you ensure they have captured it correctly and they have transmitted to KRA. It will make your work much easier going forward. Someone is asking, what if there are errors? I'm not sure which errors come out. I will hope that the transmission to occur automatically once the invoice is raised. If it's human focused, then the Vat Auto Population will just be an additional task, like we'll be working for it rather than the system working for us. I think Diana has addressed your concern and she has clarified that you focus on issuing what KRA is pushing is let every person in business, whether they are registered for VAT or not, we are focusing on supporting them to issue all invoices through Teams or e-Teams where applicable. And she has also clarified that as long as your device, because at some point your device might be offline, but the moment it comes back to a network or you connect to a network, the transmission will happen without human intervention. So I think, Jedida, again, your concern is well taken care of by Diana's explanation. Please repeat, purchases from suppliers who have not charged VAT can be inputted. Yes, in sheet I of the exempt purchases, all your purchases, in case you use charcoal in the office, in case you buy some newspapers, means as in these small people who are not charging VAT, the MSMEs, you can still claim those purchases as a lump sum value in the exempt purchases sheet. That is the reason why there is that section. So it will not reduce the VAT you pay, but it will help in your return being supporting your expenses. In case maybe even KRA is doing an audit or something on your income tax side, it will help in ensuring that your purchases are in line and we don't have certain purchases unless they're exempt from the provisions of having to be supported by an electronic invoice, as we had mentioned before. Explain how someone is able to submit invoices. Diana explained that, will not repeat. Yes, please make the CU number short, at most 5 numbers, to make it easy for us. You risk turning all accounting departments to KRA departments. I will just be doing reconciliation from Monday to Monday. But I think, Alan, again, I think we've already given our explanation to this. There is no capturing of a CU number going forward. KRA is providing the CU number to you. We've gone further to provide a pipe to read so that it doesn't truncate. And now you'll be working on you'll now be doing your own analytics using what KRA has captured. And I think honestly, and maybe some people in the chat can let us know, I think whether the CU number is 5 or 10 or 15 with the pre-filled return, it doesn't really matter, by the way, because you already have it. It is already system generated. You are not the one capturing the invoice on the Teams or e-Teams device to make it that long. It is already generated automatically, and we also pre-filling it to you in the spirit of auto population. So I believe pre-filling has addressed your concern. Probably you raised it before we clarified the issue, but I believe now it should be better. Whether it is 50, 90, 45, 10, 1. Of course, you realize also the reason why the numbers are as many, and even you can pick it up without KPLC. Anyone dealing with huge transactions, you need to come up with numbers where there will be no other invoice number being issued, and we'll never come to an end of, let's say we've now exhausted 10 million, 5 million characters, and now we need to come up with a new series. So again, those are some of the factors which go into coming up with how the invoice number format is. It's supposed to take care of, because we can never have an other invoice issued by another taxpayer in future, having the same invoice number with another one issued before. An invoice needs to be unique to a certain transaction, and it can never be reissued to someone else. Samuel, it will be chaotic, especially if you're dealing with that. Okay, I think someone is, but I think we've clarified the issue of the number of the length of the CU number and why probably it may never be an issue now that we are pre-filling it. But again, we'll just see better ways if we can address it is there a way the CU number can be short? I think we've addressed that. You allow reduction here and allow increase for sales. Tunamuona lol. Kamau. And I'll not comment on that. It's just how it is, eh? Most of the big companies are using in-house invoice numbers for submission of returns to KRA. The invoice numbers are very useful. They are very useful as they help with controls and reconciliation. What is the scenario now with these companies that do not use the CU number? I think again, Alan, I think if you're in this training, you'll realize that going forward, KRA will be pre-filling only invoice numbers for CU numbers. So whether your company is using the other invoice number generated by the ERP, for the sake of filing, for the sake of claiming, for the sake of reconciliation, it is the CU number which is already pre-filled by KRA. I still believe your concern has been addressed by the pre-filling. Why do you need to import CSV if the system is automated? It should in the return. It should be in the return, I think so. With this task, it's a simplified return then. Joseph, we are aware of that. We are saying the current simplification of the VAT return, it's riding on how the VAT return is currently based on the design. And we've already mentioned that by the end of 2024, we'll have a completely web-based online return for VAT and there'll be no importing. So again, we're aware of that. It's only that we need to get some things right. We need to enhance compliance relating to transmission. We need to enhance certain things which they are not happening as they should in practice, and we can eventually move to that in 6-8 months by switching this on. So yes, we are aware of the two scenarios, but the simplification, we can still not deny the simplification that instead of you capturing your CU numbers in an Excel, missing on the PIN number, on the amount, on the debt, the simplification is we are providing you with some data which is already validated by KRA, and it reduces you, it makes you have a reduction of errors, especially when it comes to filing. Instead of us, maybe if we'll have gone with these validations of the return, which will be effective from January, and will not have provided you with some pre-filled CSVs, I can assure you most of you will have been stuck completely in filing. So again, it's a balance. It's a balance between some bit of simplification and also some bit of enhanced validation. But as KRA, we are aware that we are moving, and we are already determined to move towards a web-based VAT return probably by end of 2024. And that is what we're working on. Someone is asking, I have a specific scenario where I issue a VAT invoice, transmit and make a return. The customer is exempt, applies for something called a D1 form, which says I should refund the VAT amount. The amount I should follow with KRA via monthly returns. How do I go about it? I think I'd explained the scenario when I gave Calvin the example of the US Embassy. It's the same thing. You will have to reissue a credit note. It will reduce your credit. It will reduce your sales values for that month, and then if you have to pay them, if they paid with VAT, then probably you'll have to refund them the VAT. But for you, you'll get the VAT back through passing a credit note, which is a negative sell. There's a lot of information that needs to be shared either on a video or a document. Okay. I think the recording, our host will comment on the issue of if the recording be available, if there is, or if there is any other recording. I believe we've done more than one, and we'll still await a much more detailed recording for everyone to access it in one of our social media, but our host will comment on that. For instances whereby the supplier issues a valid Teams invoice, however, on checking using the CU checker, the invoice does not show details, meaning it was not transmitted. How do we go about it? You cannot keep on communicating to them. You cannot keep on communicating to them that the invoice they are issuing have not been transmitted. In such a case, will you be able to claim the input VAT? No, you cannot claim input VAT if your supplier has not captured your PIN, transmitted the invoice through Teams or eTeams. I think that has been very clear from the beginning. But Diana, maybe from the eTeams operations perspective, how will you advise maybe, or what do you think are the mechanisms KRA is putting to? Will there be maybe some form of the stations following over and penalizing all those suppliers who are not transmitting and denying their suppliers, their customers, maybe the right to claim input tax? I believe there could be something which maybe your office or maybe the TSOs might be doing to just enhance the compliance towards transmission. Maybe if there's anything you can also comment on, that would be good on the need to push people to transmit invoices because it is here. Okay.
Yeah, from where I sit and understand is right now, TSOs, the compliance officers, will be equipped in such a way they should be able to know which of their taxpayers are not transmitting, and they should be able to follow up with them. And even our enforcement team, the edited team, they're also following up on the taxpayers who are not transmitting their invoices. And for maybe if I can also add, for those people who are saying, for those people who are saying that their invoices have not transmitted, and they're connected to internet. If you're using the Teams device, kindly go to your iTax profile. Under the Teams icon, there's a discrepancy report. You should be able to know why your invoices have not transmitted. For those people who are having issues with transmitting with the Teams devices, maybe you can
that is from
check
the
and
supplier
amend.
side. That is from the
Yeah,
supplier
yeah,
side.
on the supplier side, the person who is issuing the invoice and they are having challenges to know why they have not transmitted and they are connected to internet. It could be the invoice had an error and they can check and they can amend the invoice too. And they will be able to transmit.
Okay. Anna, because of time, let's also try conclude now. Will the auto population work for people still using Teams? Very clear. Diana has explained we are still running both Teams and e-Teams. If you are VAT registered, you can be in either. I think it's only the non-VAT category where you only can be in e-Teams, the non-VAT category. But VAT category taxpayers, you can be in either, and Diana has explained it very clear. How do I invoice using the new e-Teams for VAT? It's a whole process, Diana. Do you want to take 30 seconds to just explain how invoicing happens? There are quite modules, purchase, sales module, nini, capture. Yeah, if you can, or otherwise. But Diana, maybe can you mention the aspect that you guys are also doing trainings on e-Teams specifically, not the VAT populated return, the side of, and maybe when are the trainings being done? Maybe they can join because there now you can shed more light on how an e-Teams invoice is being issued, but you can still comment in summary how an invoice is issued through e-Teams. Okay.
In regards to training, we have trainings ongoing, even in, if you check your emails or if you check on our social medias platform, we always say when the trainings happen. They can be virtually, sometimes they're in Times Tower, sometimes they're in your stations where you are. So just keep a look on it. Sometimes we've even gone further. We are doing per sectors. So if you follow up cleanly with your sectors or you check your email, you should be able to get communication in regards to when the trainings are ongoing. We are, in fact, I've seen one that has just completed right now. So if you just if you listen, you'll be able to know when they are being done. And secondly, in regards to issuing of invoicing, as long as you have the software either on your laptop, on your phone, there is a way you should, if you came installation in our offices, we showed you how to raise the invoice. But other than that, if you go to our website, there's a user guide on how you can raise an invoice once you've installed the software. So I think that will be sufficient. But if not, you can visit us in any of our offices and we should be able to guide you on how to raise an invoice.
Okay, thanks, Diana. For sales to unregistered people, AI, the supermarket setup, how will the return auto populate? Will it be as per the individual receipts or will it appear as a lump sum value? I think that one we've explained. It was a concern, I think, which was raised as part of the expectations of the return. We've already said all sales to final consumers, and for the sake of these auto-populated VAT return, final consumers are either those customers who never issued the PIN to the supplier when he was invoicing, or they issued a PIN to the supplier, but the PIN does not have a VAT obligation. All of them will appear as under the pre-filled lump sum figure, and you can now validate it by checking the section B without PIN or non-VAT, or the section D1 or the section E1, respectively, as we took you through. Please advise on how to tackle customers with PIN but not register for VAT obligation. Fahad, we've already explained. Going forward, please declare them as a lump sum value. Whether they were captured on the VAT, on the invoice or not, that is okay. Even now, that check is already there, and some of you, I think the system has already been telling you that this person was not having a VAT obligation on that invoice debt. So for all customers who have a PIN, they issued you the PIN, but they are not registered for VAT, just declare them as lump sum going forward. And now in the pre-filled return, we'll be providing two CSVs. The one where you're supposed to import will be purely the ones where KRA has already ascertained that that PIN has a VAT obligation. So I think that is on please advise on how to tackle. I think that we've captured. We have large taxpayers that have not been onboarded to Teams. How will we claim VAT from them? Liz, hey, who are these large taxpayers? I think as KRA, almost, let me say, 99.9% of our large taxpayers are onboarded, and I think we are at an advanced stage. Diana, do you want to comment on the Safaricom issue and KPLC? I believe that we are at an advanced stage of onboarding them to be fully on Teams, and even if maybe it doesn't happen by 1st January, I hope it will still happen as soon as possible, so that you'll be able to claim that input maybe even in February or March. In case you have any information, Diana, no pressure. If you have any issue, and I believe they have not mentioned, but I believe I can see it is Safaricom or Kenya Power maybe being targeted in that. Anyway, okay.
Maybe what I can say, they're in the advanced stages of doing their system to system integration. And I think they have a letter. That's all I can tell right now. So I think those who are trading with them are provided with a letter as to why they've not been given they have a letter, I think.
Okay, so that's fine.
How much I
But
can
I
tell,
think
yeah.
basically KRA is just, we were facilitating them so that they can issue invoices through
Yeah.
Teams, and it will just be like any other supplier. So that's good enough. We're at an advanced stage of onboarding anyone. I only mentioned two, but I believe maybe those are probably the main ones who probably, and it's not that they have not onboarded. I think for Safaricom even they have already onboarded, I think on the Safaricom shops and the likes. I think they made the one pending is the postpaid bills, and it should be. We are giving it the urgency, I think, as an organization to onboard any huge utility or any huge taxpayer or any taxpayer who might have challenges with onboarding. I think the eTeams operations team has been very supportive in all of them. Okay. We are an accounting firm with over 15 clients. How do we go about eTeams if one computer is hosting one company and we cannot afford to buy 15 computers? Okay. I thought the customer himself or herself should be invoicing. You only deal with filing. When you do you wanna go way in? Me, I think that is my understanding, that it's the customer who needs to install their invoicing solution in their computer, and of course, then once they invoice, they can give access maybe depending on which eTeam solution they are using, or but the filing, I believe, is separate from the actual invoicing. Unless now you are saying you are the one operating even the aspect of invoicing, which is another Pandora box. But anyway, Diana, if you understand that question, we are an accountancy firm. If you have over 15 clients, how do we go about eTeams if you have if one computer is hosting one company and we cannot afford to buy 15 computers? I'm trying to get as if it's the accounting firm which invoices on behalf of their 15 clients, which is also
Yeah,
strange.
that's what I'm also getting. But you explained it so well. The taxpayer is the one who is meant to onboard eTeams, not the accountant. The accountant is just assisting with the filing, but the taxpayer is the one who is onboarding eTeams. So the 15 clients that you have are the ones who will onboard eTeams, and they're meant just to give you their Z report, maybe their monthly reports for you to to do the accounting bit. But when it comes to invoicing, it's the customer, sorry.
Okay. Someone is asking, what about withholding tax? Will we be using the CU number, and can it be simplified to be auto-filled? Okay, that's from TopSub Limited. The issue of withholding tax is a bit different. And I'll give you the example. The tax point for withholding VAT, and I believe you're referring to withholding VAT. The tax point for withholding VAT is not necessarily when you invoice. The tax point for withholding VAT is when you make payments. So even if you make payments before invoicing, you are still required to withhold VAT and pay to KRA. And that's why it is not a one-to-one, but again, we'll always, it is something which has come up, and I think as KRA, we'll also explore now, how can we move towards simplification. But again, and even the due dates have changed. Withholding VAT now, withholding IT, withholding rent, you're supposed to pay it within 5 working days of making the payment. So you realize even by the time maybe you are doing that, your pre-filled CSV will not be available for you, because we'll only avail the pre-filled VAT for January from 1st February 2024. But for withholding VAT, any payment you did on 1st January, you need to pay it by, let's say, 6th, or depending on how many working days are in between. So yes, we are aware of how we need to probably make simplifications further to withholding VAT, but also it's not a one-to-one. It's not necessarily that it must be based on the NCU invoices. It's actually the tax point is the payment. It's not necessarily the issuance of invoice. What will happen to businesses not registered for teams or ETIMS by January 2024? And what is the actual deadline when all businesses should be in teams or ETIMS? Diana, do you wanna comment on that? What will happen to the businesses not registered for teams or ETIMS by January 2024? And what is the actual deadline for people to register on teams or ETIMS? I believe also you can weigh in on both VAT and the non-VAT categories, and probably the Finance Act, and also probably the claiming. I think we've also mentioned that you'll not be able to claim from these businesses from 1st January 2024 unless the expenses are among the exemptions. But I think you can just let them know that everyone is supposed to register on teams or e-teams, and there is no longer no due date, because they need to be there already. Okay, so okay.
Yeah, you've said it well. For VAT taxpayers, you are meant to have onboarded teams or e-teams by 1st of December 2022, as per the Finance Act. So all VAT taxpayers are supposed to be registered for teams or e-teams. And for non-VAT, come 1st January 2024, for you to be able to claim on income tax any expenses, they should be through an electronic invoice, an invoice that was issued through e-teams. So you see, you are meant to have onboarded for you to be able to claim come 2024 when you will be doing our income tax for that year. So I think everyone is meant to onboard. Currently, those are the nini that are provided, and we are supporting the onboarding currently.
Okay, that's clear. I think yes, but there's no deadline for registering. And let me just add on that. If you're already a VAT registered taxpayer by 1st December 2022, you ought to be already on Teams. That was the condition back then. Then even when e-teams came, then you if maybe due to some issues you could not afford the device and other things, or your nature of business, then you are not able to onboard. Then KRA came up with more options under e-teams, which you already have to be onboarded. So the moment you get a VAT obligation, you need to onboard on teams and e-teams. If let's say you are just a new taxpayer, you've not been trading. But if you've already been trading and maybe you are not registered for VAT, you also expected to be on the non-VAT category on e-teams. So basically, I don't think we can even say that there is a due date. You're actually supposed to register either on teams or e-teams, whether as a VAT registered taxpayer or a non-VAT category in e-teams if you're in business. So don't wait, there is no deadline. The 1st January one is just to let you know that going forward after 1st January 2024, your customers will not be able to claim expenses from you if you've not issued an electronic invoice through e-teams if you are for the non-VAT category, or if you've not issued an electronic invoice through either teams or e-teams if you are VAT registered. So I think basically, please register if you're in business. Whether you are registered for VAT or not, you need to go and register in e-teams now. Don't wait. There is no due date in future. If an individual is a consultant and they raise a fee note with no VAT, does he still have to be registered on e-teams? I think we've just answered that, Hemale. I think now others are repetitive, and hey, we've gone for 2 hours. We were supposed to go for about 1.5 hours, but I think it's because our taxpayers have been very engaging, and also myself and Diana, I think we are trying as much as possible to address as many issues as possible. Network issues on your side, sir? Okay, I don't know what was the issue then. I'm in the local restaurant business. Should I insist on e-teams invoice from local market traders or Mama Mboga for my input groceries? Of course, Dixon, yes, because they form a bigger component of your purchases. Going forward, after 1st January 2024, you may need to advise them to provide you with an invoice issued through e-teams, especially if they are not charging whether they are charging VAT or not. I think your local market traders, most likely there'll be no VAT, so they need to still issue an electronic invoice. And maybe Diana, again, do you want to comment that your office is working on some simplification towards e-team solutions to take care of the MSMEs and the less literate in the society, including mama mbogas and our local market traders, that there will be much more simplified solutions, which again will just help in ensuring they facilitate their customers also by issuing an electronic invoice in a very simplified manner. I know your office maybe is working on that, and even there was an issue in the Business Daily, I think, where the project manager was also mentioned commenting on that. Maybe just a few comments on the further simplifications you are doing on e-teams to take care of farmers, less literate taxpayers, and MSMEs, and those ones who may be not technologically their skills they're a bit their literacy levels on technology is a bit low. Okay.
Yes, there's something being worked on to simplify the non-VAT so that it's a simpler and a smooth process for taxpayers like mama mbogas when it comes to issuing non-VAT receipts. It's something that is in the final stages of testing, and once it's done, the public will be notified. But it's something that is being worked on right now.
Thanks. I think that's good feedback. And so everyone, the e-teams bus is onboarding everyone. Whether if you are well versed technologically, you have solutions for that. If you are at the middle of the spectrum on technology, being conversant on technology, there will be something for you. If you're on the low end of technological advancements, whether you as a person or your business, again, there'll be something. So I think KRA again is alive to the fact that we need to onboard everyone depending on their capabilities. And that means there'll be no exemption on I think it's more facilitating you to be able to invoice electronically, irrespective of your level of ICT or your knowledge relating to technology. What happens to suppliers where you are paid after months and you have already raised an invoice and the county government takes longer time to withhold? I think Jubilant Wide Vision, that's the taxpayer, please understand the VAT Act. And I know it is, it tends to be an unfair issue, I know, to some people, but the VAT Act is very clear. You declare your sale when the earlier of the tax point scenarios happen. So if you invoice to the county government through teams or e-teams, will require you to declare that sale in the month you've invoiced or the early of the scenarios which happened, the tax point. When they are paying you and withholding you, that is a totally separate solution. And of course, it's a bit unfair to some traders, especially the ones with low cash flows and smaller people maybe who don't have cash flows. But again, I think it's a bigger conversation in government that we need to pay our suppliers promptly rather than taking 2 or 3 years. So I think it's a bigger conversation of prompt payments and the issue of pending bills. And if that is addressed, then because you need to declare the sale whether you've been paid by the customer or not. And also you'll be allowed to claim, especially if you're buying from a customer who is registered for VAT, you'll also be allowed to claim whether you've paid them or not. So it's a double-edged sword. And but anyway, I feel some people, smaller MSMEs, I think, struggle on that, especially if they don't have enough cash flows to run business. Do you have to capture expenses on e-teams? Felicia, I don't know what it means. Then I believe expenses, they are captured by someone else, and now they become your expenses if you've bought from someone or you've incurred an expense from someone. It is them who capture it, and now it avails to you. It is not you capture the expense, unless I'm the one not understanding the bit of capturing expenses on e-teams. Diana, maybe you can answer it as you understand it. I'm finding it hard to understand the aspect of capturing expenses on e-teams. Yeah?
I think I'm understanding it the same way you're understanding it. On e-teams, you only declare your sales and purchase. So maybe if you say a purchase as an expense, maybe, but on e-teams, you only do the sale and the purchase part of it. Maybe if my understanding is maybe when we say you can't be able to claim expenses, I don't know, maybe it's when you're able to claim your purchase when it comes to VAT, when you're able to claim your input tax, And when it comes to income tax now, for the invoices that have been issued, maybe with allowable expenses, then the expenses need to be something that you wrote and you have an electronic invoice issued to you.
Okay. Thanks, Diana. I think so there's a service provider not issuing invoices through Teams or e-Teams. They said you allow them until April 2024. How will I be claiming these invoices if they're not transmitted? I think, Diana, give out the email for e-Teams first. Yeah, we need to confirm you're the one who allowed, because we can be having other people allowing themselves and not KRA. So I think probably you can share with our contents with our participants the email for e-Teams where they can actually pick it up with you, and you guys can confirm that you've allowed that service provider, and probably you can even give guidance, because I think this is very specific. If we open that everyone is displaying letters of exemption out here, it can bring a problem. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, you have to be specific. I don't think we've given letters of exemption, maybe one or two, and it has to be, it's not us, it's the TSOs. So our email is team support, TIM support, TIMSUPPORT at kra.go.ke. That's our email address. You can tell us who exactly has which service provider has told you that we have given an exemption, and we should be able to confirm, because it's this TS. I don't think there's any, maybe one that has a letter of exemption or two.
Okay. And I think I've posted the email on the chat so you can pick it up from there. How do I claim taxable purchases from supermarkets and petrol stations? I think it's the same thing, Samuel Ngatia. Whether you go to a hardware, a supermarket, a petrol station, what we are emphasizing is you must give them your PIN number. So the aspect that you just left with an ETR, an electronic invoice issued through Teams, it does not have your PIN. Now that loophole is being closed. You must give your PIN to the petrol station. If you're buying something which is liable for claiming, even for supermarkets, they must issue with an invoice. They must issue with an electronic invoice where your PIN is properly captured. So again, Sonali is asking, I think we can bring it to an end. We've really gone beyond our time. What happens when we file the sales higher than what is stated on the pre-filled return because some of the invoices were not transmitted? Where is it? Where have I lost Sonali? Okay. Let me just. I think it was something about some of the invoices were not transmitted. I think they were not transmitted at the point of raising the invoice. Come next month, the invoice gets transmitted. Hence, it will be captured in that month. And remember, we have already filed in the month one. I think Sonali, maybe you are joining this training later. I'd already explained the issue of transmission. We are only pre-filling invoices as per the invoice date. We are not using the date of transmission when we are pre-filling your invoices. And also it explained that anyone who may not have transmitted their invoice, but they issued their invoice, let's say in January 2024, will still require them to edit the lump sum value upwards and capture that invoice, whether it was transmitted or not. And also they will still be required to capture other sales they have done and it has not gone through Teams and e-Teams. Comes February, when you transmit, that invoice will not form part of the sales for February, because the sales for February are purely guided by the invoice date, not the transmission date. I think I took a lot of time explaining that bit. Probably you're joined later, but that is just how to proceed. I think we've addressed everything. Back to our very dear hosts who have been very gracious to support this training. Maybe you can comment if, I don't know if the training was being recorded or not, and if maybe it will be availed on any of our social media platforms, allows us to bring it back to our host. I think
I am here.
thank you very much. And maybe Diana will come later to say some closing remarks after the host has maybe guided on some issues which were touching on the host. Back to you guys. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. David Busaule. I am very grateful, and also Diana Ivusa, for the time you have taken to explain about VAT auto population. In regards to this meeting, it has been recorded, yes, and you can get it on our pages. We have our social media pages on KRA TV And on Instagram, we have Stories of Ushuru. We also have our YouTube channel on KRA TV, and we also have our TV known as KRA TV. And I'm very grateful to be your moderator today. My name is Lukundo Wamaningo. And
Lukudo,
also,
there is
yes,
one person who is insisting that we unmute them. I think she's called Liz. Maybe you can unmute
Liz.
her. She's saying we didn't get her question, but I think we believe we've addressed all the questions. Maybe you can unmute her for the then we can just wind up. You can give
Okay.
further clarity after that. Okay.
Let me then unmute her.
She's called Liz. And also, as you unmute her, Eric is saying what happens to when you buy tokens through the electricity bills. Eric, it's the same issue, by the way. The Kenya Power will still have to capture your PIN, and in one or another, the invoice will have to be issued using your PIN. So those are some of the issues KRA will address with Kenya Power when it comes to that. At the end of the day, you cannot claim any input tax which is not mapped to your invoice, whether it is electricity tokens or whether it is utility bills. It will be an issue which will be addressed.
Mr. Busaule,
Okay,
Liz is now unmuted.
Okay, Liz, please proceed and shoot your question so that we address it and close the session because we are way past time.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. Now, my question was in regards to the CU numbers. You see, David put the point across that we really do not need to key in the CU numbers because the return is already auto-populated. But you see from us, the back end, we also need to key in those CU numbers in our system so that we can reconcile whatever is in the CSV with our system. I don't know whether I'm clear on that. So my question was, you see, it's prone to errors because the number is too long. So it's prone to errors whereby when we key into our system, assuming a person who have maybe 10,000 invoices, and you need to key in those CU invoices one by one, so that by the end of the month, when you're filing the return, the VAT return, you just pull the CSV from iTax, yes, and then you'll also reconcile with whatever data you have in your system to see, do you have everything that has been populated, or do you have cases whereby maybe you have input that have been put there in the iTax and you're not supposed to claim it. I don't know whether I'm clear on that. That's the clarification I needed. So my request was, is there a way that CU number can be user-friendly so that we can be able to key it in?
Okay, maybe we could ask, which device are you using? Because we have the third-party integrators where the system-to-system integrations. I don't think you need to capture any
it's
to key
not
in
on
any
the
CU number. You can have I think maybe let us know which device are you using, because I think
it's not on the output. Output is very much okay because it's integrated. The Teams is integrated with our system, so that one we are able to. That one has no problem. My main problem is on the input.
Okay.
Yes.
Diana, do you want to weigh in on that? The bit that they need to. Okay, me, if you'll ask me, probably even maybe going forward, you may just need to adopt the the invoicing. But anyway, Diana, you want to weigh in on the issue of customers having to capture the CU invoice manually for purchases. I think for sales, probably it's not an issue. It's not a bigger issue than for purchases. Okay.
Maybe I think I lost the Nini at some point. Maybe if you can, Nini, just in summary, like what was the issue? Kindly.
I think the issue is Liz issue is an invoice. One issue Liz has been okay, Liz, maybe just go and explain yourself. Paraphrasing may bring
assuming okay, fine. Assuming you have maybe 10,000 or 20,000 invoices, you need to keep them in your accounting system. So that at the end of the month, you'll reconcile whatever data you have in your accounting system with whatever data is on iTax. My main problem is the reconciliation and missing out on, even if you miss out one digit on the CU number, you'll not be able to reconcile that data. For the purchases, output is okay because we're in control. We're able to see like whatever is transmitted, it's integrated with our system. That one is okay. But for input, we have no control of that. So I was wondering, is there a way you as KRA, you can make the CU number more simplified?
When it comes to simplifying of the CU numbers, The CU numbers, each number in that there has a meaning on our side. And maybe it's something we take into consideration and take it as feedback, but currently those numbers have meaning to us, and that's why they are that long, and that's why they've been maintained the way they are. So maybe you can take into consideration now that we are going into the simplified way of filing returns where we are auto-populating for you. Now, I don't know how you will be verifying alongside your 10,000 or 20, but when it comes to the CU invoice number, I think as at now, it remains as is, and we are meant to use it because those numbers have meaning to us, have a meaning. So that's all I can say for now. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I think Liz also, I think what we are saying is we'll get this feedback and also we'll we'll go back and see how best we can try probably address that challenge. Because even for me, I'm not still seeing if the issue is the many numbers. I think the issue is you still just have to map a CU number. The effort of mapping a CU number with 5 characters against 10,000 entries, I think it's still a lot of work on itself. So whether it is 15 characters, 5 characters, I think that process of mapping a CU number to an invoice which has been issued, which is being booked in booking the invoice, having a separate invoice number and having to book it in your system. I think that is the issue we need to address, irrespective of whether the characters are, because I still believe if 10,000, you are having 10,000 purchases, it's still a lot of work, whether the CU number is 5 characters or 10 characters. I think the simplification and the engineering should be, if there is a way which we can make it simpler, whether the CU is 5, 10, 15. But I believe with technology, maybe it's something we can pitch it offline, Liz. With technology, you should still be able to consume the CU numbers using the PIN number. And probably now, if it's a one-to-one, the only problem is some of your customers may be multiple. They might have done multiple, but these ones who only have one purchase in a month, it can be much easier to load it in your end. But anyway, having said that, we'll try find better ways of simplifying the process going forward, because that challenge, but at least on the side of claiming, whether you capture it in your ERP or not, will still allow you to claim the CU number if it has been declared, but it's something we can pick it up. Okay. Okay, I think let's bring it to an end. Thank you very much. And I think back to the host for me, I think my few comments before Diana comes in. You guys have a happy holidays and all the best. We meet again in January for the next round of auto-populated VAT training. So in case you get an invite through email or you see an invite through social media channels of KRA or platforms, please join and get as much information as possible. And some of these things will be picking myself with Diana's. Our officers will again sit down and just see better ways of enhancing the customer journey of the pre-filled return and make it easier for you to comply going forward. For me, with few remarks, I want to wish you guys happy holidays. I'll invite Diana for our closing remarks and then our dear host to wind up. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Busaule. I don't have much to say. What I can say is I have seen a question on my side, and I think I can maybe mention a thing or two before I close. There's someone who's asking for people who have numerous receipts, can their can their systems be integrated with our software? The answer is yes. We have something called system-to-system integration. You can either come on board as a third-party integrator, or you can come on board as a self-integrator. The processes are on our website. When you go to kra.go.ke, under the eTeams icon, there is a step-by-step guide on how you can come on board. You register on Sandbox, you do a test. As long when you can come as a self-integrator if you have developers, in-house developers, or you can purchase the software from people who've already been published by KRA. When you go also to the website under publication, when you look for list of third-party integrators, you should be able to see third-party integrators who've been who have gone through the test, and they're able to assist with the integration of the system. So people who are doing numerous invoices, people who want to integrate their system with KRA, it's possible if you follow that process, and they should be able to come on board through that process. I think I have answered. And then there's someone who was saying that the invoices, instead of printing an A4, are we giving an opportunity to print the small invoices like this, the ETR one? Yes, you can, even when you're using the laptop. There are two options. You print receipt, and then there's one for printing A4. So you choose one of it, and depending with the type of printer you have, you should be able to print the small type of invoices. So I think I have answered that question someone had asked me. Other than that, thank you. Thank you for participating. We will continue engaging you. And thank you very much. Back to you, to our host.
Thank you so much, Diana and David, for you have actually taken your time to help us during this session. I do believe each and every taxpayer is now okay in terms of their answers, their question being answered. And also I'm very, very, very grateful for you to just create time to train us, for you to just create your own time to just join this session. Also, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year in advance from Tax Education and Marketing team. I have been delighted to be your moderator for today's session on VAT Auto Population. Thank you so much. My name is Lukundo Wamaningo.
Okay. Happy holidays. Bye. Guys, take care. And happy holidays and New Year. Bye.